Hey guys, Joseph Henson here with Henson CPA Group. And this week I want to go through a little bit of stuff about overhead. So before anything else, we'll just go ahead and flip over to here and show you what's going on. So decoding your overhead, where your money really goes. Again, I'm Joseph Henson with Henson CPA Group. I'm glad you guys are here. Glad you guys join me every week. And if you have any questions after this, just feel free to reach out. So why does this matter? Why do you truly care to understand your overhead? Overhead can silently erode your profitability. Most clinic owners don't know their true overhead rate, and you can't fix what you don't see. So what is overhead really? Overhead includes a ton of different items in your P&L and your income statement. It's rent, utilities, software, any staff not directly generating revenue. So if you have a custodian, it's them. If you have someone taking care of your maintenance, if you have someone who is doing lawn, if you have a ton of different things, insurance, admins, and professional fees. So lawyers, that's part of overhead. Accountants, outsourced CFOs, bookkeepers, your liability insurance, your malpractice insurance. These are all directly related to overhead. The danger of the blended bucket. If you are just putting money into one area, just general administrative expenses, having those all lumped together gives you no visibility into what is actually happening with your business. You can't tell where you're leaking cash. If you don't know that payroll is 70% of your overhead cost and it's 70% of your revenue, there's an issue there. You want to make sure that you understand where the money is coming from and where the money is going. It is extremely easy to overspend when you are not tracking overhead categories. It's the same in your personal life as it is with a business. If you're not looking at it and doing a budget, you're going to fall behind. The ideal overhead ratios for vet clinics. These are just some benchmarks that we typically see and that are pretty standard across the industry. Your total overhead should be 40 to 60% of revenue. So if you make $1 million, your total overhead should be somewhere between $400,000 and $600,000. Your rent should be 4 to 7%. This is a pretty safe rate where you're not over renting and having a lot of dead space. This does vary based on your clinic location. Someone who is in Little Podunk, Missouri is going to be different than someone who is in New York. Like, that's something that you have to take into account. Your admin wages, so people who are directly helping run the clinic, those are going to be 10 to 15%. And in tech software, under 5% is good. You don't want to be spending 10, 15, 20% on your tech or your software. Like I said, these vary based on clinic size and location. A 1 doctor, 3 employee clinic is going to be completely different than a 5 doctor, 20 to 30 employee clinic. Common culprits. Your admin team is too large for current revenue. You overhired, you expected to grow at a rapid pace, or you had 2 new competitors come in and you have actually seen a reduction in the number of patients you see on a daily basis, and your recurring revenue, your recurring patients are dropping. You have too many employees. What do you need to do? It's never easy, but sometimes you have to look at either how do we get more revenue or how do we trim some of the admin staff. Software bloat. You are having too many tools with overlapping functions. If you have Otter AI to take notes, and then you get another one that will record, you're probably getting too many software tools that do the same thing. You have unused subscriptions. Hey, you never use Amazon Prime. You never use Spotify for your waiting room. You don't use Apple iCloud because you have Google Drive. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are unused, and that kind of goes along with the overlapping functions. The rent and lease rates are not aligned with revenue. You have a $1 million clinic, but you're spending $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 a month. You're spending too much potentially in rent. You want to make sure that your lease and your rent fall within that standard rate. Those rates, if you actually broke down the number, would be pretty high. But we want to make sure you're doing what you need to as a clinic. So getting visibility into overhead. If you do not have a chart of accounts geared towards veterinarians and veterinary clinics, one of the things you need to do is start breaking down expenses into detailed categories. You want to have that detailed chart of accounts. You want to review monthly, not just annually, because one of those things that renews every single year isn't always needed, and you don't think about it when it renews because you only look at it annually. Use historical data to track your trends. If you have been within those metrics for a while and you start noticing that they're getting out of key, out of whack, out of a band, you need to start looking at what do we need to do to fix this. And then identify where increases are happening. This is part of the first thing we said on this, breaking down expenses into detailed categories. If you don't break these out into a pretty detailed area, you're going to have a very difficult time identifying where the increases are happening. So this is just kind of a sample overhead breakdown chart. Like I had mentioned previously, you want about 6% to go to rent, 12% on the high end to go to admin, 4% for software, and 18% is other. It's pretty straightforward when you get into these categories, but you really want to dive as deep as you can. You want as much visibility as possible. The key takeaway you really want to look at is admin and rent are the largest expensive potential areas for review. If you are able to look at rent, if you're able to look at the admin area, you can start to say, hey, how does this work? What happens if I renegotiate my lease? Interest rates are starting to drop a little bit. Your landlord is disagreeing with, he wants to increase your rent. You're not really wanting to. Well, hey, I'm not just going to stay here. I'll find a different clinic or place I can rent. What's that really look like? It's always a game of cat and mouse. Your admin, it might be time to start trimming a little bit off the top. No one wants to talk about reducing overhead for the staff, but sometimes you have to. Maybe that's, we have less bonuses at year end, but it's something that you can look at. Here are some questions you should ask yourself. Are my overhead costs in line with benchmarks? If we look at this and you are completely out of whack with this screen right here, your admin is 18%. Your software is 8%. What do you need to do? The next thing you want to look at, once you've identified that, have I reviewed recurring expenses in the past 6 months? This is extremely important because a lot of people don't realize when they have a recurring expense. I'm guilty of this in my personal life. Hey, I thought I'd cancel this. I never did. I've been paying for it for the last 8 months. This is $30 a month. That's $240 a year. It adds up. You do that for 3 or 4 things, you're down thousands of dollars, tens of thousands in business. And what percentage of my revenue goes to non-revenue generating roles? They're not vet techs. They're not veterinarians. They're not part of your kennel. They're not kennel techs. What percentage is going towards those that don't generate revenue? Because it takes more and more revenue generating roles to help supplement those non-revenue generating roles. This is a really quick one this week, guys. Normally they run 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes up to 20. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of your time back. I appreciate you guys coming out here. I appreciate all your questions when you send them in. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out on social media, subscribe for content, email me directly at joseph@hensoncpagroup.com. And